Hey, welcome back to another live coding session. Let me open my demo project. Here we are. So last week I did a stream about a new package that I wrote, which was called Laravel Eloquent Scope as Select, which lets you add a scope as a select, as you might have guessed. While I was working on a new version of that package, I got an idea for another feature, and that feature ended up in a new package, and that package is the one I'm going to show you today. So let's dive right in. So I've got a demo application, this one, which is quite simple, of course. It's just a table full of posts. Each post is published or not. So here you can see the year in which it was published, and for now it only can only be published in 2019 or 2020, like this one here. We've got a title, and we've got a votes count, we've got a comments count, and we have a column to see if this post was published by an administrator or not. So this is just I've lost the word. The database. I was going to show you the database. It's this one. This is the post table. So this is actually quite the same as the table you saw before. We've got a posts table, a comments table with a relationship to each post, and this is our users table, which got a isAdmin column to set the user as an admin or not. So in the code, in the post controller, this is my query. So I've got the post query. I eager load the users. I've got a comments count. We have pagination, and this one, add scope as select, is something that has to do with the previous package. So if you're interested in that, go check out the last live coding session. So to show you what this front page thing is, let's open the post model and scroll to the bottom. So here I've added a scope called on front page, which is a scope to constrain the query to posts that are only allowed on the front page. So a post should have more than 10 votes. It should have more, or it should have 5 comments or more. It should have a relationship to a user that is an admin, and it should be published this year. So of course, in the post controller we can add that scope. So let's remove this one for now, and let's call that scope on front page. Let's go back to Firefox, refresh the page, and now our posts are limited to posts that made the front page. So for example, this one was published this year. It's got enough votes, enough comments, and it was published by an administrator. And the package I showed you last week, I commented the scope out. The package I showed you last week adds this scope as an attribute to your model. So the post query is not scoped anymore, but now we have a boolean to check if the post should land on the front page. So then I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could flip the scope? So of course, I could do this, and that will show you all the posts that made the front page. And I will add the select thing again. So we have only yes in the last column. So we've got a bunch of posts that are on the front page. But what if you want to show all posts that didn't make the front page? That would be quite interesting as well, right? So I've created a package which is called Laravel Eloquent, without typo. Laravel Eloquent, where not. So let's install that with Composer. It doesn't require additional dependencies, so it's actually only one class, so it's quite simple. And I need to add the method to the query builder, and you can do that in the app service provider, similar to the previous package. So this is where we add the scope as select macro, and now I'm gonna add the other one. So where not add macro. That's it. So here it is, this one. And now instead of doing this on front page scope, we have a new method where not, and you can give it a closure, very similar to scopes, as you see. And now you call that scope on the query builder. So where not on front page. That's it. And of course we need to remove this one. Let's save it. Refresh the page. And here are all the posts that didn't make the front page. So we don't see any more yeses in the last column. So that's quite awesome. It just flipped the scope. So let me show you one more time. Let's remove this where not scope. Let's remove the scope as select as well. And let's refresh the page. And let me show you the query. So this is the Laravel debug bar you're probably all familiar with. So we are selecting the post. We have a subquery to count the comments. That's this one. Select count from comments as comments post. And that's it. We're ordering descending by the ID. And we limit the query to 25 rows, which is the first page, right? So, and there's an additional query to fetch the users from the database. This is eager loading the related users. So if we add the front page scope, like we used to do, and I refresh the page, now we have that comments count, of course. Where is it? Here. So we're still selecting everything from the post table. We're selecting the comments count from the comments table as comments count from post. And here starts our scope. So this is the point where we say we want more than 10 votes. We want more of, or at least 5 comments. We want the user to be an administrator, and we want the published year to be this year. So this works fine. But now we can do the inverse thing of the on front page query. And I've even made a shortcut to replace this callable disclosure with just the name of the scope. So you can just write down where not on front page, which sounds quite nice to me. It's just what it is. So now when I refresh the page, the query is updated as well, of course. So one more time, we are selecting everything from the post table. We are selecting the comments count. It's this one. And now instead of all the constraints that were added by the scope, we have a where not exist. And then there is our scope. So here we are selecting the same row from the same table as an alias, and then we apply the scope to that alias, and that's it. And this is also nice if you look at the query time. So let me show you. Without any scope, so without the on front page scope, we got about 1 millisecond or 2 if I refresh. Probably depends on what my MacBook is doing. Yeah, it's somewhere between 1 to 3 milliseconds. If I apply this scope on front page and hit refresh, it's about 9. Again, 9, 11, 7. So it adds like 4 or 5 milliseconds to the query. And when I apply the invert scope, where not on front page, we are back at 2 or maybe 3. So this is much faster than doing this in PHP. Leverage your database. We can also add the scope as select again. And then, yeah, sure enough, the query gets more complicated. But yeah, we're already down at 4 milliseconds, 3. So this is not a big deal. So of course, we now have no posts that were published on the front page. So that's it. Actually, it's a quite simple package, but very effective because you don't have to rewrite your scope. You can just leave this as is. And what you would do in PHP, maybe if you would do this manually, you could do something like this, wrap it, and then something like a not. But of course, in an SQL query, that's much more complicated. So this package helps you to achieve the same with this where not method. And you can actually do quite fancy things with it. So you could do multiple scopes at once, where not on front page, and maybe where not from an admin. And you can also pass arguments into the scope this way. So for example, we could do something like where not published in year 2019, or published between, and then give it an array. So yeah, that's it. That's the thing I want to show you today. You can find it on GitHub, of course. I've got it opened right here. You can find it on the company GitHub, Laravel, Eloquent, where not. Again, this is just a very simple package. One class. You add it in the app service provider, and then you call the scope the same way you did before, but wrapped in a where not method. And all the shortcuts I showed you earlier, you can find in the documentation, of course. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you like the package as much as I do. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.